The governorship elections hold tomorrow in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. We cross live to Imo State, where our Arise correspondent, Emeka Monye, is on standby to give us an update on the governorship polls in the state. Thanks for joining us, Emeka. Everything looks quite calm on the scene. Can you bring us up to speed with exactly how things are looking on this pre-election night?
Well, thank you very much. Good evening and welcome. This is the police headquarters here in Owerri. It's just a couple of hours' time. Imolites and residents alike will be going out to the polls to cast their vote for yet another governor for their state. Now, it's a mixture of fear, it's a mixture of anxiety, it's a mixture of apathy from the voters who see it as one of those elections that may eventually turn out to be what we see in the Nigerian political terrain. Now, earlier on, a couple of minutes ago, the DIG in charge of election here in Imo State, talking about Deputy Inspector General of Police in person of Frank Kumba, held a press conference where he addressed the media on some critical key areas. He talked about security, he talked about partnership, he talked about collaboration between the police and all the relevant stakeholders. Now, he's also looking at a scenario where the police has been, he said, according to him, in one of his key points he raised, he said, the police has deployed personnel to critical areas to man areas that are considered very dangerous for voters. Now, he also said that politicians are being watched, even though it was not so specific about how they are being watched, because when he was asked a question, they asked him how is the police going to address the issue of vote snatching, influenced by the political class. It was not so specific about what the police will do to any politician who try to violate the electoral law.
Now, Emeka, I think you suggested that there's going to be a bit of voter apathy in this election that we're going to witness tomorrow. Can you tell us what the mood is like among residents of the state as they prepare for the election?
Well, the mood here is, like I said earlier on, is a mixture, actually, depending on the divide they belong. Some are saying they're not interested. A few others are also willing, because here in Owerri that we try to interact with some of them who have shown some level of interest to participate in tomorrow's election, while a few of them say they're not interested because, according to them, they said it's still going to be the same business as usual, even though they were not too specific about what they mean as to regards the business as usual. Anyway, I have our correspondent who has been on the ground, the correspondent of Arise TV, Saturday Ocha, which is going to be joining me live to throw more light on the situation here. Saturday, good evening. Right, you have been on ground here in Imo State. What are the expectations of the people regarding tomorrow's election?
The expectations are very high, very, very high. But the problem is insecurity in the land. Like you can see, people have been complaining about insecurity in the land. But now that the security agencies are everywhere, like in the army, they have their security operatives everywhere. The police, they have over 25,000 personnel in Imo State. Same also applies to Nigerian Security Civil Defense Corps. They have above 2,500 men on ground. So in the area of insecurity, I think with what is happening, they will take care of it. But another problem is the area that they said, INEC said earlier, that election will not take place. But now, INEC also came up to say that elections will hold those areas because of enough security operatives around. That is the situation for now.
Okay, in terms of the voter apathy, because we noticed that some voters are saying they're not going to vote. What do you think could be responsible for this voter apathy?
The voter apathy may occur because Nigerian Labour Congress has declared a strike. people are now queuing into that strike. They are saying, you can see in Imo State, there's no light. In the airport, is grounded. Everything grounded, even the filling stations, they are now selling 740, 760 naira. By tomorrow, it may reach to a 1,000 naira per liter. That is the problem, and that will be the cause of apathy in this election.
Okay, thank you very much, Saturday, for joining me on the live program. It is very, very ironic here in Owerri, Imo State capital, that you're seeing the kind of tussle playing out in the political scheme of things. Labour on one side, the Nigerian political class on the other side, is a matter of power tussle playing out. For the Labour unions, they want the election not to hold, while the Independent National Electoral Commission insists that the election will hold.
Well, it's certainly a Game of Thrones that is going down there in Owerri. A lot to stay on top of. But I see that there's a helicopter behind you, and before we could see men in fatigue, military personnel in fatigue around you. Can you give us a brief, Emeka, I don't know if you can hear me. Just let me know if you can hear me, and if not, we will try to reconnect with you and make sure that we can get back to you when we have an opportunity. All right, so that was Emeka Monye in Owerri for the gubernatorial elections coming up this weekend. We will reconnect with him when we get a chance. Stay with us. Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi are going to be deciding this weekend. And we're going to head to Imo State, where Arise correspondent Emeka Omonye is on standby to give us more updates on the governorship polls. Emeka, we know the line dropped earlier. Thank you for reconnecting with us. I was saying the military helicopter, or what looks like a military helicopter in the background, along with some military personnel that we saw in the shot. Can you give us a little bit of a situational report as to how much military or police presence is on ground? Because we do know that INEC had deployed INEC and the military and the government had deployed more backup for the elections this weekend. Can you give us an update?
Well, you know, since this is an off-cycle election, and to that extent, the police is totally at liberty now to have more of its personnel deployed to Imo State to contain the any crisis that might arise from this election. From what we understand during the press briefing by the DIG, at least 25,000 police personnel have been deployed to this election in Imo State. As regards this helicopter you're seeing behind me, it's not a military helicopter per se, it's just a police helicopter which came all the way from Abuja. We understand it's convey the DIG down here to monitor the election process here in Imo State.
Well, Emeka, I'd like you to give us some of the issues that you think will determine how voters will cast their ballot tomorrow.
Well, we're talking about, first is the security, we're talking about the political party, and we talk about the candidates themselves. Of course, we're talking about other issues like the popularity of the candidates. Now, let's start with the security. Of course, the police has assured residents, according to the DIG, that their safety and businesses are guaranteed, that there's no need for them to fear. They should go about their normal activities come tomorrow. They should go to vote, they go out and cast their votes, and there's no need for them to express any atom of fear that every polling unit will be manned by the police personnel. Now, to the issue of the political party, of course, three major political parties stand out in this political process. You're talking about the ruling APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party, and maybe, perhaps, maybe the All Progressive Grand Alliance. These three major parties, and side by side, ABGA stand out to make impact in this election process. And also looking at the candidates themselves, some of them are, the candidates are strong horses, they are great, they are big horse when it comes to political participation. You talk about the candidate of the All Progressive Congress, the incumbent governor Hope Uzodinma, and the PDP candidate Sam Anyanwu. Of course, we have the Labour Party candidate was Achonu. These candidates, all in their own right, have political pedigree.
And we know how elections go within our country. It is often the incumbent who has the leg up on the opposition. So not discussing the likelihood of the incumbent being unseated, I want to talk about the RECs and some of the political parties. Earlier on this week, we know that the Labour Party and PDP gubernatorial candidates stormed out of a meeting due to the fact that they didn't remove the rec. I think her name is Professor Sylvia Agu. She's actually been making the rounds on television, giving updates about what's going on in Imo State regarding INEC materials and such. I'm wondering if there's still any discussion about that, or if the situation has completely been settled and people have just resolved to the fate that INEC has chosen this particular rec. She is a bit controversial, but she will still be carrying out her duties with no issues.
Well, the situation, the crisis, from what we understand, has been resolved because there is no need for them, according to INEC, saying that there is no need for them to remove the rec in presence of Professor Sylvia Agu, saying that it's too late for any resident electoral commissioner to be redeployed to the states ahead of the election. Now, what we gathered also too is that the people are not even bothered about who is the rec as it is now, except some stakeholders, some interested parties who might want to still insist, but those ones are, to many of them, not too relevant in the political scheme of things.
Well, Emeka, before we let you go, we heard that a certain group has issued a sit-at-home order on election day, which Ohanaeze Ndigbo has tried to counter. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, the police said they should disregard such threat. That such group, they are outlawed groups, and they are not people to be taken seriously. That the people themselves have the power to decide their political direction, the political fate, which the police authority earlier told us today that there's no need for people to continuously begin to issue letter of threat to people, law-abiding residents of the state who would want to cast their vote. And as it stands now, their threat letter, it's null and void according to the police authorities.
Well, we hope that in these off-cycle elections this weekend, INEC will be able to restore the confidence in Nigerians as a free, fair, and credible process takes place. Emeka Monye, thank you so much for joining us and for contributing this afternoon.